right, everyone. How's it going? Welcome back. Welcome to the program. My name is Ethan, and you are watching Stinky Platinums, our weekly video game news show, and kind of excuse for me to plow through my addiction on cheap and easy platinum trophies in PlayStation games. Bit of housekeeping before we talk about some of the news today. A new episode of our podcast, The Sonic Movie Show, is going live tomorrow, earlier than normal within the day. This episode has Devin, David, and myself review the, I think 1992, 93, I have to double check on the year, anime OVA based on Fatal Fury. This was called Fatal Fury: Legend of the Hungry Wolf. It is a divisive conversation that we have about the film. I love that when we do all of these movie reviews based on video games for that podcast, some of them are like, I think there's actually an episode coming up shortly after Fatal Fury where we're all like, yep, we all agree. Yep, I agree with you. You agree with me. I agree with you as well. That type of stuff. But then we get episodes like this where we're like, we are on different pages with this. And that's a lot of fun. I'm glad we're doing it this way. I'm glad we have David along to make it a bit more exciting, having three people's opinions bouncing around the room as opposed to just the general one. Other bits of housekeeping. Now that Devin is back from Japan, hope folks watched that. Devin went to Japan, 2-part stream. He's back. We're going to be doing more streams together finally. We're going to see more smaller videos pop up on the channel. And all that jazz. So keep on the lookout for that. There was a stream, was it yesterday? Is my brain going fuzzy? I think it was yesterday. A Nuzlocke stream. Finally, we returned 2 months later to the Pokemon Nuzlocke realm, working on my Pokemon ROM hack of Fire Red. Devin has that cartridge, and we're continuing that playthrough, so check out that episode if you haven't. And generally speaking, with that Nuzlocke, I know that's episode 8. You could probably start with episode 8. I don't think you have to start from the beginning. But if you have the time, it's a lot of fun. This is honestly some of the most fun that we have on the channel. Because, with this ROM hack project, it's an ongoing thing. So over the course of the stream, maybe some things reference things that happened already. Because I work on it a bit ahead of where he's at. So, it's exciting that way. Maybe some failures or victories get referenced, and maybe I get an idea based off some things that happen. Be like, oh yeah, you know what? How about we put this in? So I have a lot of fun doing it. We scheduled out a few streams, the 4 of them so far for this month. Let me take a look at the list here. Also let me open up the calendar so I can know what these days of the week are. On Wednesday the 16th, we are doing a very special one-off stream. I'm going to be playing this game. Devin doesn't know what the game is. It is a PlayStation 2 hidden gem that was recently released on the PlayStation 4 and 5 in their, classics collection thing there. And, I titled the stream, "This PS2 Game Sucks." It doesn't suck, it rules. Devin's going to be hopefully blown away by what that game is. And then on October 22nd, that is a Tuesday, so a week later, is when Sonic X Shadow Generations unlocks for the early access people that bought that digital deluxe edition. I have pre-ordered that on the PlayStation. We're going to be playing that. I'm assuming we're going to want to jump into the Shadow Story mode because that is the new content, especially since they haven't done, I don't think any pre-release, features on, or, press features and footage and whatnot on the actual Sonic Generation stuff. I think that's just a straight port from the old PC version of that game. We're going to hop in the Shadow Story mode on that on Tuesday, October 22nd. Then, 2 days back-to-back at the end of the month, Monday the 28th and Tuesday the 29th are a pair of Halloween special streams. You're going to want to check this out. On Monday the 28th, Devin and I are each returning to a stream idea we had back, I think this was in July, if not August, where we each had a top 10 list with an 11th kind of as a ringer in there, where we each guessed the order in each other's top 10 lists. This one is for sorry, that's actually for Tuesday. Whatever. The Tuesday stream is this, where we're guessing each other's ranking of Halloween candy. So that's on Tuesday the 29th. We're going to guess each other's top 10 ranking list of Halloween candy. But the day before that, on Monday, Devin is going to be playing games that I am unaware of. Maybe he'll tell me ahead of time. I think it might be more exciting if he doesn't. He's going to be looking up a few, not too many, not too few, spooky games off Steam. I don't know if these are going to be like Steam crap games, like Stinky Platinum might be, or if these are going to be like just games I'm not aware of, or just, genuinely earnest indie games or not. But Halloween spooky games. I think I should look it up still. I think I have downloaded off itch that I forget what it's called, but it's a game where you carve a pumpkin and then you lay it in this town, and then it connects to a server, and then you just see everyone's pumpkins, and that's just it. You just walk around. There's no other players walking around. You just see all the pumpkins around. That's just cool. Maybe I'll show him that too as well, just kind of ahead of time. But yes, that is October, Monday the 28th for the most spookiest of games for Halloween. And then on Tuesday the 29th will be that ranking of Halloween candy. So I am excited for all those streams. Now, recently as well, on stream, this was, when was this, Monday? I don't remember. When was this stream? On October 8th. When was October 8th? It was Tuesday. It was only 4 days ago. 4 or 5 days ago. I got my 200th Platinum Trophy in Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. We streamed that. It was part 4 of that Let's Play kind of series. I got that Platinum Trophy. That game is all said and done and now put in the past. Yes, there is a PS4 stack of that game. I don't think I'm going to stream that, and I'm not going to play that anytime soon. But that is, I like knowing that, like, in the back of my mind, like, oh yeah, there is a known platinum I can go for. That doesn't seem like it's going to be that big of a pain, because I should remember pretty much, how that game, those two games worked. So now for the future, for streaming future games to get their platinum trophies, I'm working on a plan. I have some games picked out. These are longer games. These are games that would take more than 4 episodes, like Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, was. So I have decided how I want to go about that. These are games that are important to me. These are games that I really want to platinum, but I also don't want to spend so long with that's like the only content that pops up on the channel. So I'm going to be rotating through a few games, and we're going to have special overlays for the whole thing. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll share more details with that soon. I don't suspect I'll be streaming any of those this week. I think that might be a next week thing. However, in between some of these games, and perhaps I might do one of these before one of these big games I've been planning, is a few games that we wouldn't get the Platinum Trophy for, but we would do a one-off stream where I go in and try to just check out a game where I'm like, hey, I'm pretty sure I could Platinum this game. I haven't played it yet. Let's play it for one stream for 4 hours, let's just say. And if I decide, hey, you know what? This might be fun to do later at some point, we'll go for it later. If not, I'll do it on my own time. Because I have a lot of games like that where, like, I don't have the time or desire to have the stream, the feed be clogged up with, all right, 3 of this game in a row, 3 of that game in a row, that type of thing. So we might do a bunch of one-offs. I've been sorting through a spreadsheet of all games, being like, okay, this is a game I want to do the whole thing. This is a game where I'm okay just doing once and then either never coming back to the game at all, or maybe on my own time working on it for a little bit. And speaking about streams and stream tech, I have fixed, I think, in practice and proof and evidence, it seems I fixed the problem that was happening with the last few streams we were doing prior to the recent Metal Gear one. The Devin went to Japan stream, as well as the last 2 Stinky Platinum streams as well. It's also affected a recording of the podcast we were doing, which was really annoying, where just the whole thing would freeze up on me, but also not crash. I think I solved it. I've streamed, I think, a total of, what we're looking at here, 4.5 plus 2 plus 5.5. All that time together with no freezing. I think we're good going forward. So thankfully, we will actually be able to finish one of these Stinky Platinum streams and within its 2 hours, just, frame of time without any issues. So with all that out of the way, I'm trying to think. I don't think that there's any more housekeeping. Like I said, episodes of the Sonic Movie Show, they air every single Sunday. It is a bunch of video game movie reviews. Been kind of doing a few of those in a row, as well as like Sonic news and just these evergreen topics Devin and I have about the state of the industry and whatnot. Things that we think would be a conversation larger than a small 10 to 15 minute video. And then Devin makes all these YouTube shorts and TikToks out of these, very useful for us as well. So yes, tomorrow's is Fatal Fury, Legend of the Hungry Wolf. Check that out if you dare. So today's topics, you can see them all the way over on the left there. I'm going to queue up the first game we're going to be playing as we talk about all this stuff. By the way, you could see in the little welcome screen for the PlayStation 5, just the shitty battery on these controllers just slowly deplete. This was full. This was a full battery. And it was saying it's almost at 50%. It sucks. And yeah, I could plug it in, but the cable I've been using is actually really thick and heavy, and it just feels weird just to have it like kind of dragged down. And I got stuff, like there's a monitor right here that I can reference for like guides and stuff like that. Actually, what you're seeing here, right? That right there is on this little 900p monitor that's sitting in front of me, and then the TV's up there. I got stuff going on. I don't need an extra cable. I'm using a wired headset for the first time in years, and less cables, the better. So this controller will die at some point, and I'll have to plug it in, and I'll be miserable for that. So we do 2 games, 2 Stinky Platinums, over the course of one of these streams as I talk over the news, as we know. I always like to start off with one of these definite shovelware types of Platinums. And again, what a Stinky Platinum is, for folks that might not know, it is my descriptor, and I think it's a good descriptor for people use shovelware, and I think that encompasses a good amount of what a Stinky Platinum is. But not all of the games that people call shovelware are actual shovelware. They are just, amateurish indie games. If a game has advertised with its trophy list, hey, you're going to get the platinum pretty quickly. Under 3 hours guaranteed. Some of these are like a half an hour. All the games in this folder right here are like 2 minutes. We're going to pick one of them. But then there are games that are like, hey, I just got out of university and I made my cool little pixel platformer on phones, and I'm just so excited, and my friends really like it, and my mom says it's really good, and it got a bunch of downloads on the App Store, and cool, and like this indie publisher is going to help me publish it on PlayStation and Switch and Xbox, and it was already on Steam, but whatever. And those games are like fine, but they're amateurish, but they also have a very easy platinum. I wouldn't call those games shovelware, because shovelware is crap. It is just literally shovel full of garbage that you're not interested in. Because there are Stinky Platinums that are like that. But then there are Stinky Platinums where it's like, well, no one was going to buy my game, and I would like money for it. So what if I made the trophies and achievements easy, and they can get them really quickly, and people know that, and then people buy it. There are a few publishers that I feel like specialize in just that type of stuff. So we're going to pick one of these. I've been avoiding the turbo ones just because they go faster. We'll do the jumping falafel while we talk about the recent, as of like 4 hours ago, 3-4 hours ago, Pokemon Company and Game Freak data leak. This happened recently. As I just said, not every bit of information has gone public, and my fear is that there might be some personal information within this leak that might be kind of ugly to have kind of go public. We see this with like the Insomniac leak that happened, I think, almost literally a year ago to the day, as well as there was a Nintendo leak a few years prior, and some of these major leaks where it's like, there's a lot of cool, tasty information in here, but there's a lot of emails, and there's like personal information about employees, like where they live and their salaries and just their communications between each other that were private emails. It's like kind of messy. All that stuff is fascinating if they're all dead and we're looking at stuff from 100 years ago. And it's like, cool, with that Insomniac leak that happened last year, it's like, I get it. This is really shitty for the people that work there. But we learned a lot about the industry with that leak. How these big AAA games with Disney licenses, even when they're uber successful like the Spider-Man games are, still Disney makes the majority of the money off of that. And that game had to sell millions of copies to break even on Spider-Man. That was a really fun game that reviewed very well and lots of people bought it. And it isn't just a smash out financial success for Sony. You know what I mean? And just looking at how, like, what their big plan was for all their games. Like, yes, it sucks that, like, we know that there was an X-Men game. We know that there's a Venom game, etc. Like, that probably sucks for them. And, like, we were going to learn about this stuff anyway. But guess what? We learned about the canceled Spider-Man multiplayer thing that they had prototyped and made not a trailer, but like a mock for what they would probably make for a trailer, if that makes sense. So like leaks like that are very, very interesting. We learn a lot from them. But if there's messy personal information shit in it, then it feels gross to share that information, share the news. And when you get hackers that aren't really ethical with what they have, they just, we grab terabytes of data and just, we see a lot of it and it looks like, here you go. I think you could sift through that and get rid of it. Like, it was cool to see the Sega 1990, was this 3, 4, and 5? Like, it was definitely leading in. I think it was Saturn had just come out. Anyway, there's like all of these documents from Sega at this time was leaked like a year or so ago. And it's so interesting to look at all this information because we're learning about the industry that way. And yes, there's a lot of personal information in that for people that don't work in the industry anymore. So that feels fine. We're actually, uncovering historical documents, if that makes sense. So for this Pokemon link, I don't think that they have released all the information. It's about 1 terabyte's worth of data. I had heard that they're choosing not to reveal like the designs for upcoming Pokemon and Gen 10, and if Pokemon Legends ZA has any new monster designs. I think they will. I don't know if they're making a stand saying not to spoil. To me, that's the stuff I would want to see. However, they do have the source data for Pokemon Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and Black and White, or Black and White 2, or maybe both Black and White and Black and White 2. To me, that's very cool, interesting. We're going to be able to see better ROM hacks from DS-era Pokemon games if we have the entire source code, that they don't have to reverse engineer all that stuff. That's cool. 3 projects were in this leak. Maybe 4, but I think what people are assuming are 2 different projects are actually just one. So I think it's 3 projects. Pokemon Gen 10, cool. It's got a code name. The code names are nonsense. It is for the Switch 2. At least the information that they presented says it's for the Switch 2. It could be a cross-gen title. By the way, the Switch 2's code name we now know is Ounces. That's kind of cute. I think the Wii U's code name was Cafe. Another project, obviously Pokemon Legends ZA. That is a cross-gen title, supposedly, from what this leak is saying. And then this third one, I forget what the code name was for Project, I don't know, Scalia, Justice Scalia, something like that, whatever it was, is a PvP-based MMO. Some people are also thinking, no, the PvP is a different thing, and people want it to be a Pokemon Stadium. Like, I love Pokemon Stadium. Pokemon Stadium was my first Pokemon game. I got my Nintendo 64 with Pokemon Stadium from my mom for whatever reason. That's how I got my Nintendo 64. I got that before I even got my Game Boy Color with Pokemon Gold. So I have a special place in my heart. I think it's a Pokemon Snap situation, though, where, like, fans finally get the sequel to the thing that they want, and it is presented how they want it, and it kind of just comes and goes. I think Pokemon is a series that's like, hey, we evolve, we change, we look at what might be cool now or in the future, in the next couple of years, and make that instead. As much as I love to have my own personal nostalgia be, you know, nickeled and dimed off me, happily take my money. If they were to do yet another Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, Green remake, here's $70. Gold and Silver, here's $70 just to have the games. I don't give a shit. Just take my money. There have been previous Pokemon leaks before. It's how we've gotten source code for other Pokemon games. What I liked for some of those leaks, there was unused Pokemon designs in these betas for some of the game builds. And that stuff's always super cool because it's like, oh, here's a Pokemon design they had for Gold and Silver that they dropped. And now many years later, many Pokemon generations later, here's a design that, like, can be described with the same physical attributes you would see on the sprite. So it clearly was like, okay, what if shark Pokemon that is kind of fast moving in a ballistic manner? Okay, so here you go now. Some of that stuff is like that. I think that's really cool. So I'm hoping that, like, through some of this, you know, we get to see, oh, here is some Gen 5, because there's Black and White or Black and White 2 source perhaps nearby that in that terabyte of data. There's like, oh yeah, here's some unused, you know, beta Pokemon for Black and White. That would be super cool. But when discussing leaks and sharing information, you just got to be a little bit careful on what you're sharing and making sure that there's no personal information in it. And you don't have to feel too bad about, like, the companies and corporations for having their plans ruined, unsurprising you. Like, this isn't, you're not going to see a movie. But at the same time, real people's salaries and then therefore their livelihoods are on the line when it comes to, you know, video games and their development. So leaks can still be harmful to them. So it's all just about how you ethically discuss and share that information. Should you choose to share it, but I'm not showing any information on it. Okay. 1,400 jumps with the falafel. Let's remember that. Maybe we'll start counting all those for our first news topic. We're going to hop over to another game. I actually have to pick one off the list down there. I have them kind of ranked 1 to 5 in terms of when I looked at the trophy list for all of these games. You can go ahead and delete the jumping falafel now. That was my 201 platinum trophy. We're going to pick a game off this list for what we're going to play through the next 5 news stories. It'll let me open up my game library. Ever since they did that update where they want to show you your storage space on the home screen, I feel like it now takes forever for it to allow me to open up the game library. Why don't we take a look here? All the games we've played thus far, which, for those wondering, so far have just been 3. We had to skip one for last week. Have been 2-star games. And then I write some sort of description when I looked at the list of, like, hey, here's kind of what we should maybe keep an eye on. Maybe. I like ones that say light list look, because those were ones where I'm like, oh yeah, we could probably just do it guaranteed. But then you see ones that are like high list look, and like, I don't know if I want to tackle this right now. Maybe we save some of these types of games for a stream dedicated to the stank. Dungeon Adventure says it has 12 levels, and it's got 2 stars. So why don't we do that Dungeon Adventure as we talk about Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo. Called Dungeon Adventure? Oh. A little Pixel Man. Oh, this is one of the oldest Stinky Platinums I bought that then sat here, because that happens with a lot of my stuff. So, Nintendo recently released an announcement of an alarm clock. Nintendo-themed alarm clock. It has a motion sensor on it. It costs $100. Congratulations. That's kind of it. It does not track any health data for you. It doesn't use a camera. It uses a radio wave. And because of that interesting nature, I read their kind of developer diary on the thing. I find that, kind of interesting. You only have to play 12 levels of this game, by the way. They wanted to make an alarm clock that you wouldn't have to touch after a while. Once you kind of get used to it, you don't have to touch it. So the alarm goes off when you get your ass out of bed. I find that kind of interesting. So when that motion sensor senses you get up, then it's like, cool, I'll shut the alarm off. It senses your movement, so as the alarm is going off, it's usually playing a Nintendo song. There's like 9 or 7 different Nintendo Switch titles that they're using as themes. It'll play a song as your alarm. Press jump. Not press what button to jump, press jump. As you're waking up, as that alarm, pops up and you're waking up, every time you move, it's gonna make... Oh, this is an auto runner. Every time you move in bed, it's going to make sounds. I guess Mario coins and whatnot. We could double jump. Okay. Dead. So that's neat. It's $100. It becomes available in stores, I think, or at least to a general public to buy in January. However, if you're a Nintendo Switch Online member, you can buy it straight from their website. I didn't do this. I'm actually not a Nintendo Switch Online member at this point. I dropped that a couple years ago, just because I really wasn't using the stuff for it. And yes, they have all, like, when the Nintendo 64 games came out on their emulator service, and they weren't running all that well, and they had, like, obvious glitches and issues, it's like, well, people figured that out, and I could do that on my computer for free. And, like, I used the fact that I was a member to let them allow me to give them $50 or however much it costs to buy their Nintendo 64 controller. Then I looked and I'm like, oh my god, that's just a USB, like a USB-C plug on the thing. I can just hook this up to my computer easily. Use that with an emulator. I think I'd rather do that. That's when I kind of dropped that. And I don't really have an interest for this clock. I think it's neat, and I like the fact they're like, no, this is just a clock. We're not trying to track your health. This doesn't connect to any apps. It can connect to the internet to download new themes. That's kind of neat, but it is just a clock, so that's kind of cool, I suppose. Oh, so we're just starting here. So yeah, Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo is the full name, or Alarmo, just in general. You have a big dial, that's your main navigation tool, and you press the button on the top, and then there's a couple pair of buttons. Interestingly enough, one of those buttons is an envelope icon, and you can see a little envelope thing on there. I don't know what that means. You're not checking your mail, and again, it doesn't connect to any app, so it's not receiving any messages. I wonder if that's just like, hey, if we have something to tell you, pops up there. So that is interesting. And there's a back button like a lot of Android devices do. Or at least a lot of them they used to. I don't have an Android phone. And like there's no buttons on all these phones. It's all full screen now. So I don't think they need a back button. Anyway, next up, we'll keep this image on the screen here while we talk about another Nintendo Switch Online thingy-mabobber. Yeah, on, I think it was the 9th or the 10th of the year. Hit a wall, you just start. Nintendo made an announcement that said, hey, if you're a Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Plus subscriber, and you're cool, and not a narc, you can go ahead and sign up and apply to be a part of an open beta for an upcoming beta test feature thing. I don't think they... Oh, you have to pay coins to continue. I thought I was earning coins. Oh. That's odd. just gonna bump to this wall. They're like, yeah. So on the 10th, you'll find out if you're approved, and then on the 20th, come back and download this 2 gigabyte file size application on your Nintendo Switch. We highly inquire, and recommend that you use the Switch in TV mode and have it plugged in with Ethernet. Some people are immediately jumping to the assumption on what it could be based off of that information. I think that's them just being like, we don't think that your internet's going to be good and your data is not going to be valuable to us if you can't freaking connect, so plug it in, please. And I think the fact that it's an application doesn't necessarily indicate what it could be. There are people being like, oh, obviously, if this is an application, if this feature is an application, then this is going to be Nintendo GameCube streaming. Not the games themselves, but streaming, because those file sizes would be too big to just, force onto people's Nintendo Switches. Because you don't pick the games in your emulation thing. They're just all downloaded on. GameCube files are bigger than obviously any other games on that emulation service, so people are jumping to conclusion on that. I don't necessarily think that's the case. An applet can still be an isolated instance of a system feature that you're viewing within a portal, within an app. It doesn't have to be, the beta doesn't have to be a system level thing, because people want to hope that this is like the return of Miiverse. People remember Nintendo Miiverse on the Wii U, and came to the 3DS a little bit after that, but Wii U feature, Devin here, co-founder of the channel, it's not his fault. It was his words. It was not his fault. I was the one that had sent, I think I was the one that typed it in. Got me banned off Miiverse pretty quickly. We're playing New Super Mario Brothers U. Dude, this was like a couple months after the system came out. And we posted David's phone number, or his phone. I think his house phone. Drew a guy. Forget what the guy was doing. I think he had a gun. And said, call to buy some crack. And then that post got taken down and I got banned off Miiverse. And there'd been a couple times where I went to send an email to Nintendo and I'm like, I'm gonna do the little brother defense. I'm gonna do the cousin that came into town defense. And I pre-wrote out this email where I wanted to mention how much Nintendo stuff I had recently purchased. To be like, I'm a big customer. I was in high school still at the time. Yeah, this would have been at the beginning of 2013, a couple months after the launch in late 2012. Yeah, so even then that felt like a big deal to me because I owned multiple 3DS systems. No, I only owned the one at the time. But still, whatever. But I bought mine, I got mine on launch day. I think that was one of my things. And I pre-wrote out that email and I sent it, and they're like, hey, you can call us and we can talk to you. And I chickened out on that because I wasn't going to want to talk to people. So I never really used Miiverse much beyond, the first month of the Wii U's life. Which is sad. Dead. Am I earning trophies? Keep an eye on this. Am I earning trophies? So, it'd be cool if the Switch got back a Miiverse style thing. Especially since, Twitter has gone down the shitter. And it's actually hard nowadays for game consoles to share screenshots and videos to social media platforms now, because Twitter used to be so easy. There'd be just an export. I mean, these controllers have a dedicated button on them to share basically to Twitter. And the fact that, Elon wanted to fuck that up by having the gall to charge these companies to allow them to give his app content. It's just so funny to me. I feel like it would give some exceptions for some companies for that stuff. So a Miiverse can fill the hole there, and I would love to have why can't Metroid Crawl style posts from, I guess they'd be Gen Alpha at this point now, Jesus. Nintendo babies that all they know is Splatoon and one Animal Crossing game, and I would love to see their opinions on games natively on the platform. I think that would be very funny. And I say that with love. We were all there at some point. Okay. Other things that the feature could be, damn. It could be Street Pass. A Street Pass-like feature would be neat. The fact that the Switch never got that makes sense initially. The way the Switch's operating system is, from day one, made sense from day one. Doesn't necessarily need to have the same reasons now, but if folks remember, if folks owned a Wii U, or even owned a 3DS and experienced that 3DS in the later years of its life, not at the beginning, but the later years of the 3DS's life, people would know, oh wow, these systems were slow and sluggish. You would go to the Wii U's main menu, which would take some time to get to, and you'd be like, oh cool, I gotta go into the settings to check stuff. And boy howdy, never seen a settings app have to load, and load for almost a minute. That was the Wii U experience. The Wii U was chock full of that stuff, and as the 3DS started, I thought you could jump on the enemies. That's what it said. As the 3DS gained more and more features over its life, including background themes, and like there was the badge arcade thing that people loved that I never got into, and Miiverse itself, and all these features, the 3DS started to get really slow as well. It's very important that the Switch wasn't going to be a flop for Nintendo, right? So guess what that means? Having a very bare bones, thin, ultra lightweight operating system for the system to run on, so that it does not get in the way of the idea of you pressing the power button or the home button and deciding, I would like to play a video game. This is the video game. I booted up the video game. I am now playing the video game. The whole idea being like, oh, it's super fast to open up games and get them going was important for Nintendo. Because, to be quite frank, as much as I love the design of the Wii U, not the entire Wii U operating system, when the Wii U online was shutting down and like they were closing the store, I did put money in the thing, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna buy some important stuff. This is what I had been doing with the PlayStation 3 store, by the way, and when that officially dies, I will have pretty much anything I've ever wanted. Dude, I made a PlayStation Hong Kong account because I had read that, for whatever reason, on the Hong Kong store, Soul Calibur 2 HD hadn't been delisted, and neither had Mortal Kombat Arcade Collection. And it's true. You know what I mean? So, like, I do delve into these stores, and I have a stupid spreadsheet on all this information. So I was doing that with the Wii U. I'm like, what can I buy? I wasn't doing the Gerard the Completionist thing of buying everything, because I don't have the money for that. But, like, what would be unlikely to find again? Oh, a specific Game Boy Advance ROM that's an isolated thing and not part of some streaming or subscription thing of Super Mario Brothers 3 that had the extra levels from the e-reader. They put that on the Wii U version of the Virtual Console Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Brothers 3, whatever the Game Boy Advance port of Mario Brothers 3, that Virtual Console release on the Wii U had all of the extra e-reader levels. These were physical cards you had to scan on the e-reader device and all that stuff. So I got that because I'm like, cool. Some of the DS games I also got on there, especially if they weren't just stock. So like the two Zelda DS games had like each a puzzle each that was like, oh, you need to close the system. You need to fold the system shut. One of them was like, oh, because the map is on the top screen and you're playing on the bottom screen, and how do we get this? We read this tablet. How do we get the mark from the stone tablet in front of us onto the map? And the answer is literally close the DS and it stamps it. Like, so how did they do that on the Wii U? Okay, so for anything that needed to do that stuff, I bought those. There was a few obviously Wii U specific games that I'm like, I don't know if these will ever return. So I managed to get those. And through that experience, going through that Wii U's operating system and the store, and there was so much I've forgotten. Like, yeah, I remembered that the eShop used to sing songs to you. I remembered that downloading a game had fun animations of, like, Mario characters grabbing bits of data and throwing them into an app icon as that slowly filled up and became the game. Like, I remembered that type of stuff, but just, like, the UI design of the whole thing was cool. There's just so much to it that I loved. I didn't like the main menu's app icon style tablet, iPad-looking ass screen. I didn't care for the Mi Plaza thing that would pop up on the TV. I didn't care for that stuff, and that stuff definitely bogged down the system, obviously. These jumps are tough. I need to focus when we get to them next time. But I love the colors and just there's so much attention into detail for that. And then juxtapose that with the way the Switch is, and the Switch is like, you go to the settings and, like, yeah, they still have a selection for what theme do you want. Basic black or basic white. Still, we're like 7 years into this system, dog. You couldn't put Mario on one of them? Were you really that afraid of bogging down the system, overloading its RAM? You know what I mean? Like, and I get it, you went overboard with the 3DS over time, and that system got sluggish as hell. And the Wii U out the gate was so sluggish that you had to put system updates to make it so that the settings app wouldn't take a minute to load. But still, we can do more with the 3DS, or with the Switch. And maybe at this point now, because they're like, okay, the Switch 2 is on the horizon, it will have some of these features built in. Let's test pilot them on the regular Switch. And you know what? We'll leave them there. So I can see a Street Pass-like feature. I don't think if they were to bring Street Pass back, it would be exactly like the way... Oh, so close. I don't think it'd be exactly the way Street Pass was. Because you also have to build games that work for it. For people that might not remember, Street Pass was when your 3DS is in sleep mode and you're walking around, if it passes another 3DS that's also in sleep mode, it shares data between them. Ugh, I had a hair in my mouth. Ugh, it's feeling around as I talked. And so, like, common games would have stuff where it's like, ooh, you could trade this if you pass someone by, or, you know, they had built-in software on the system that was for, like, puzzle pieces and stuff, and those games were fun. Street Pass games were fun. And that was a feature that, like, of all of, like, the Wii U and 3DS stuff that, like, I'm like, okay, you can leave this behind. Street Pass was one where I'm like, no, we liked this one. This one worked. It could have been better, but it worked. We enjoyed it for what it was. And you can do it. So, I can see Street Pass returning to Switch 2, and this being a test pilot for it. To me, the lamest thing would be a streaming app. That's all this is. I would find that very lame. But it's possible. I don't know. So yes, on the 20th, we'll find out... Oh my god, I made that jump. On the 20th, we'll find out what it was. They're also asking people not to share that information. Someone will. There was no NDAs to sign. It's just a request. It's not legally binding. Okay. So people will tell for clout. I mean, we're in an era where, like, people are so desperate to be gaining clout for, like, being a Nintendo personality that they're purposely going out of their way to spread rumors and stuff without giving away the information just because they want to look like they knew what it was. You know what I mean? Like that Wayoro guy. Anyway, next up on the list, this is exciting for some folks, exciting for me. Tomb Raider 4, 5, and 6, aka Tomb Raider The Last Crusade, no, Tomb Raider Last Revelation, which was 4, Tomb Raider Chronicles, which was 5, and Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness are getting remasters coming out next Valentine's Day, just like the Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3 collection came out, I think, this Valentine's Day. About basically almost a year. Year to the month, I think, for sure. Right? Oh, watch that. That's cool. It's done by Aspire. I know Aspire's track record is hit or miss. Some of the Star Wars stuff that they've been doing hasn't been that great for some people, but I enjoyed the work that they had done with Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3. Granted, I only played Tomb Raider 1. I never finished it. Cool. But, you know, and they got the Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 1 and 2 coming out next month. 2 months from now? Maybe it's in December. I'm going to get that as well. And that that's just assuming that's the same way it was done with the first 3 Tomb Raider games in that collection, assuming Legacy of Kain is going to be good, and then this is going to be the same thing. The quality of the games are going to be different. I know, so the PlayStation 1 had 5 Tomb Raider games, the first 5, and then Angel of Darkness was on PlayStation 2. And that one has some issues. I know people are also like, I don't really care for Tomb Raider 5 or Tomb Raider 4. Some people, I think, actually said about Tomb Raider 3, maybe. Regardless of the quality of the games themselves, you know, not every series is going to be perfect like that. What they're doing to them is cool, where the actual environments keep the same level of geometry, but the textures are all new and the character models are all new, and we have updated controls. It feels like you're playing an old game that looks like how you remember it. It's just a modernized, approachable version of that game. It is not an expensive 2-3 year project, and that's important to me. That's why I'm glad this is coming out, and I'm gonna buy it even though I haven't finished Tomb Raider 1, 2, 3 collection. I have only played a good chunk of the first Tomb Raider game on there. I'm gonna buy this anyway, and I'm buying that Soul Reaver collection because this is the type of stuff I want to see. We live in an age now where video games take too damn long to make. And there's an expectation that things need to sell a bazillion copies. And compound those two things, well, it also costs a bazillion dollars to make games in general. I like to see smaller budgets, smaller teams, and smaller time frames, and smaller scopes for video games in general, and that obviously has to extend to all these re-releases and remakes. And the controller died, folks. The controller did die. I'm gonna have to plug it back in. I am currently using my toes to grab the cable off the floor. Okay. I have it. Reaching it to my hand like the primate I am. Plugging the controller in. I have to press the power button. For the PlayStation button. Thank you. I forgot, I still have a little USB nub for our keyboard plugged into the PS5. That's why that PS5 icon wasn't... Because they let you play Doom with the keyboard. And I was like, oh, this is fun. I liked that. Yeah, I'm going to be buying these because I want to see more of these made. These are the types of remaster projects that don't need to sell 1 million copies to break even. They don't need to sell 1 million copies to justify further projects like them. And the fact that we're taking old games that are basically dead to the modern audience or unawares of, because there's a Croc remaster coming out. I loved that game as a kid. I have not played that game since I was a kid. I'm going to buy that on day one, and I'm going to play that with tank controls, baby. That's how I was doing Tomb Raider, playing with them tank controls. They're not as bad as people think. Actually goes because, you know, you've been playing Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2, by the way. Got that platinum, 200 platinum, etc. Thinking about Metal Gear Solid and Solid 2 and how, and Solid 3, and how specific those controls are, and how it would be off-putting to the modern audience. Not because of, like, the modern audience is dumb or anything like that. It's because they're used to other types of controls, and there is an assumption nowadays because games are supposed to be easy unless they tell you that they are hard. Like Dark Souls, you know going in, oh, I'm just gonna get my ass kicked, and it's me, not the game. But for, like, other games, like if you're dying a lot in Star Wars Jedi Survivor, unless you're like a super gamer, but like, someone that has a couple decades of loving the industry and following everything, like the hardcore kind of gaming enthusiast. If you're just a regular person, chances are you blame the game. You know what I mean? And that obviously comes down to controls. Oh, these controls sucks because it's not what I'm used to. And that's what they would say, right? That's where tank controls come in. Depending on the game, they're perfectly fine. I think they're good in Resident Evil. I really do. I wish you didn't have to like hold down a couple buttons to run. But at the same time, I'm okay with that. The way that game works, the tank controls work. Tomb Raider, its world was designed knowing that's how you moved. So while it obviously seems basically mandatory that they do have the ability to not have those style of controls and have regular controls by today's standards, it's obviously important that they keep the old style controls in there for folks that want them, and I do want them. Because that's the way the game was designed. So I'm excited for Lara Croft's next 3 adventures, and I will play them all at some point. I will say this one thing I'm looking forward to. I'm gonna sip in here real quick. Talking a lot. One thing I'm hoping that they fix. I like trophy hunting, right? That's what we're doing right now. We're literally playing that game to get trophies in it. The Tomb Raider 1, 2, 3 Remastered Trilogy on PlayStation 5 does not have a platinum. Does it? Or maybe it does. But it's all 3 games as one big-ass list. While as on PlayStation 4, they each have different lists. Hold on, let me pop this open here. Yeah, no, it doesn't. The PS5 version of the trilogy does not have a platinum. And the trilogy is one block. As one list, one thing. Rather, as on PlayStation 4, all 3 of those games each have their own trophy list, and they each have a platinum trophy. And the understanding I've come to, based off what some people are saying, PlayStation 5, it is not possible, and this is not a technical limitation or anything, this is just in the ways in which they've designed their back-end systems, how they present information, having pages of information one can go to, buttons to press, like all these things. If they're not there from the outset, then they're not there, and it's not done. It's not possible for a single application game that has multiple games in it for them to have different trophy lists. That is a thing on PlayStation 4. That's how you get like the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy or Spyro Reignited Trilogy on PlayStation 4 having trophy lists for all 3 of those games. This is exactly what happened with Tomb Raider on PlayStation 4. As you can see, I actually have 3 trophies in Tomb Raider 1. There were also glitches in the games where people weren't able to get some of these trophies. So I'm hoping that they fix that with Tomb Raider 4, 5, 6 Remastered. That's what I'm hoping. Anyway, moving on. Halo. Everyone's favorite Xbox game. A series that has been rumored to be coming to PlayStation, the Master Chief Collection. And if that happens, buddy, I'm platinuming all of those games. I have it on Steam, and I played through a good chunk of Halo 1, but I'm like, I could plug a controller into this, but like, I feel dirty. This doesn't belong on PC. This belongs on an Xbox. Because I don't own an Xbox. Not because I have anything against Xbox. They haven't really... If Kojima's game is Xbox exclusive OD and it doesn't get put on PlayStation, I will buy an Xbox for that game. But they requires games like that to get me to buy them. But, yeah, in any case, Halo Infinite came out in 2021, I want to say. And, it was fine. It was an open world game. It was all in one biome. It wasn't necessarily the kind of level-based affair. Not necessarily like level 1, but you know what I mean. How they presented it was essentially level-based, right? The fun affair of previous Halo games, it was an open world, Far Cry style thing. You had a grappling hook shot type thing and whatnot. and it's multiplayer and all that. Like, Halo Infinite had a rough launch and a rough existence afterwards, unfortunately. I played the multiplayer on PC, and I had fun with it. The multiplayer was free, by the way. Here we go. I don't know if I need the treasure chest, so I'm not going for that. How did I make that jump? Anyway, Halo Infinite gave 343 Industries a lot of trouble. It was a game that people were just basically not unanimously like, oh, hell yeah, like, this isn't the days of Halo 3 Finish the Fight. This isn't the days of Halo Reach. Oh my god, what a sad story, all that stuff. This is, like, perhaps received worse than Halo 5 Guardians. It was a lot of people being like, oh, yeah, guess it's another Halo. Sad. Halo deserves better. And now finally there is some, 343 had layoffs earlier this year, by the way. A lot of Microsoft studios did. And I guess now because of that, there is a restructuring on how Halo Studios, the new name of 343, is going on. Multiple projects are in the works, and they run on Unreal Engine 5. They are not running on Slipstream, was it? Slipspace? Space Stream? Whatever the Halo Infinite engine was, an engine they made for Halo Infinite. It's not running on their own custom tech anymore. It is running on one of the few industry standard engines, licensable engines, Unreal Engine 5. Now, there are advantages to this that are obvious. There are millions of developers that have worked with Unreal Engine. You can hire people that have worked with Unreal Engine, and you can onboard them onto your projects a lot faster than if you were using your own proprietary engine and hiring from people that do not work in your company. There are companies that do use their own proprietary engines that have seen a lot of success. Capcom, with their RE engine, has seen tremendous success, basically having any genre of games that they have made work in work in RE engine without any setbacks. Right, obviously, we have Resident Evil 7, the first RE Engine game. But then we also have Devil May Cry 5, and we have, the RE 2 and 3 games. And before those even, Monster Hunter World, Street Fighter 6, a fighting game. And then earlier this year's big RPG hit, Dragon's Dogma 2, an open world game, no less. Capcom has seen tremendous success with that. For all their faults, EA has seen a good amount of success with Frostbite, is it? And a lot of failures as well. An engine that's made for one specific type of thing sometimes mean if you're trying to make a different kind of game than that one specific kind of thing, then you're going to have to make extra tools and add-ons for that engine. This happened to BioWare with Mass Effect Andromeda. Do people remember Mass Effect Andromeda? EA forced the Frostbite engine on them, an engine that was made for Battlefield, a first-person shooter game with destructible environments, onto a series, a studio that makes a series of RPGs, games that have dialogue boxes. Yes, it's all voice acted, but decision trees, menus, orderable characters, and the like. And BioWare had to tack on all of those things to make them work. Like, Frostbite did not have, in the version of Frostbite that they were working with when they were making Mass Effect Andromeda, did not have anything for them to allow them to do the thing where you are talking to someone. What do you say in return? It wasn't Shepard. What was the name of the Andromeda character? Seeker? I don't remember. Searcher? You were an explorer in that game. Explorer, we'll call them. What do you have to say in response? Oh, either pick this for that's a kind of a nice answer. Like there was no dialogue tree thing within Frostbite. BioWare had to make that themselves. So there are issues with, your own custom engine if you're trying to make that for all of the games that you publish. Capcom seems to be doing okay, though. Granted, they still do some of their old MT Framework engine stuff as well for things that don't, I don't want to say they don't matter, but like the Capcom Fighting Collection was an MT Framework game. Those are old arcade games. And that's just the engine it's running on for that collection. I don't know how to make that jump. I think I need to go over that. I think I need to climb up the walls. Yeah, the Marvel vs. Capcom collection and the upcoming Capcom Fighting Collection 2, which has Capcom vs. SNK 2, which is a very good fighting game. There's like 6 different ways to play any character based off Capcom or SNK fighting games. Like, that's awesome. Those are all MT Framework games. It's an old-ass engine, and guess what? They didn't want to maintain the version of that engine that is compatible with the Xbox One. So guess what? Those games aren't on Xbox One. It was only until public outcry that Microsoft basically got on their hands and knees and said, please put Marvel vs. Capcom on our Xbox. My God. And now I guess that is going to happen for that game half a year later because they need to put work into that. You have your own custom engine. You are the ones in charge of that. Oh my God, I have a problem with working on this art, getting this art asset into the thing, and how do I do that? Contact support. Oh, who's running support for your engine? You basically need an an external studio that is just support and development of the engine that could be contacted by all these studios that you were saying you make games for, right? And when you have an instance like Mass Effect Andromeda, it's like, we have an issue with things that we made for the engine that you don't know. How do we make them work better? We need to look at your code, and we now need to figure that stuff out. So I get it. All of this is to say, a very specific engine made for Halo Infinite, and only Halo Infinite, when you have other studios in your corporation, Microsoft, Xbox Games, working on other engines, most of them Unreal, doesn't seem financially feasible to be like, yes, let's use that for the next one. So Halo Studios, the new name of 343 Industries, is now using Unreal Engine 5, and they're making multiple Halo projects. They did not go into details. What I would love for them to do, and again, I know I'm kind of talking about a project that sounds like what you would do if it wasn't a standardized engine that millions of people know how to use, that has an entire company that is just support for the product that they sell to you, being Epic Games, right? But I think it would make sense to do graphical remakes of Halos 1, 2, and 3. Just the first 3, I think. I don't think you need to do 4 and 5. Do the first 3, the ones that fans really love. Do those. I know there was already an anniversary edition of Halos 1 and 2. They're fine. Halo Anniversary is the version of Halo 1 that I played. Again, I never finished it. Oh my God. I say do those again. You have a team work on that stuff. Cool. You have it set to the side. You have another team making a multiplayer experience Halo game. It does not need to be Fortnite, but it needs to be a Call of Duty Warzone style thing of like, here is a launcher for the Halo multiplayer experience. As you buy future Halo games, you're going to be unlocking new modes for this multiplayer experience, new maps for this multiplayer experience, skins and guns for the inevitable battle royale we are going to throw into this multiplayer experience. I don't know how I just jumped over that. So Team B starts to work on the Halo multiplayer experience. Make Halo's multiplayer synonymous with fun again. That was the thing about Halo. It was a fun multiplayer. Call of Duty in that PlayStation 3 era was sweaty multiplayer. Back before we used that word, it was people coming home from work. I just want to sit down and play this game, and I'm just playing Team Deathmatch. That's all I'm gonna do. You know what I mean? We're not in that era anymore. And we're okay leaving that era behind. But I would really love if Capture the Flag was like a thing that you could hop on any weekday night you'd see hundreds of thousands of people playing online. And she'd be like, cool, I can get into a mode right now. Me and my buds were excited to play Halo, capture the flag. Remember Red versus Blue? That's what it was about, capture the fucking flag. Oops, I think it restarted, not next level. So cool. Make Halo fun again. That's all I need to do. And then, obviously, you would have a third project in the works that is Halo 7. Maybe they do the thing where they call the next Halo game Halo 6, and we say Halo Infinite was not Halo 6. Halo Infinite was Halo Infinite. I doubt that they would do that. I think they would just do another non-numbered name. At this point, that's probably what you do. I get it. I would also love I think we're starting to get some of these series where, okay, our series has a story, and we kind of ended that story, but we need to start a new story now, because this is a big franchise and they're not allowed to end anymore. Metal Gear Solid's one of these. Metroid's one of these. Halo's one of these. How do you keep making these games forever because they are synonymous with your company? Without just like, what do? Your story that goes on forever? That's not interesting. And the scopes of the stories start becoming more and more convoluted. The risk and threat of your enemy stops becoming that big, because how do you get bigger than, I don't know, stuff that you've already done before? You James Bond it. That's what you do. Hey, this is a new Halo game. We don't know when it takes place. This is a story where Master Chief does a thing. In a place. It is an isolated story. Solid Snake needs to do that. Samus needs to do that in Metroid. You can have trilogies, right? Like, I never finished God of War 2018, and I never played God of War Ragnarok. I will at some point in my life. I'm told that that's a duology. That does not mean God of War is dead. I do not know what happens in that game, and I don't want to know until I play it. No spoilers. But I would love to see, alright, here's another God of War story. That takes place after God of War Ragnarok. You do not need to have played God of War Ragnarok to understand this story, but when we make a sequel to this sequel to God of War, we hope you play that one because this one's important. You know what I mean? Like, you should play God of War 2018 before playing Ragnarok, but you don't need to play God of Wars 1, 2, 3, and Ascension and the 2 PSP games, right? But if you're going to play God of War 2, you should play God of War 1 first. One of those types of things, right? Play Assassin's Creed 2 before you play Brotherhood and Revelation, but you can just skip straight to 3 if you want. Right? Do that with Halo. You can still keep the same character. Master Chief, he's like 9 feet tall, the suit jacks him off, I don't know. But it doesn't need to be connected to the other games. This is a Master Chief story, he's off doing some things. James Bond it. Because inevitably you get to the point where there are so many of these, I hit restart and I didn't hit next level. Unlock with treasure. Do I need 24 more treasure chests? I don't understand. Uh, 8 times 3 is 20. I literally need all of the treasure chests. Thank God I only missed one. Go back and... Gotta get all the treasure chests. I think I know what level this is. I think I skipped that one. 20. Nope. Do that with Halo. Halo 7, call it Halo something, and then you make a sequel to that called Halo something 2, right? Do that. That's what they should be doing with Halo. I know, like, the grifters who make money, who make like $5 off of Twitter now, by just inciting, hate speech and whatnot, are upset because, God forbid, someone that worked at 343 Studios still works there, and she's not a white man. Oh well, you know what I mean? but whatever. Halo's been in a rut. Due to that proprietary engine they'd been working on, they haven't been able to make as much content as they would like, especially when Halo Infinite was supposed to be, if you remember the original pitch, back when this game was supposed to be a launch title for the Series X. It was supposed to be a platform for future Halo games. That's why they had a custom engine built for it. It was supposed to be the future of Halo in a literal sense. Future Halo games will be inside Halo Infinite. Oh, this level of all level turned. So it's funny to me that it's not funny, it's sad, but it is. What did you expect? You know, for the future of Halo to be like just the game itself, and then that's it. Having that idea still be multiple projects, but you just have a universal message amongst your different teams in your studio, using an engine that allows you to freaking hire people, get help from other Microsoft studios, because guess what? The Coalition's Gears of War E-Day, they are masters at Unreal Engine. They've been working with Unreal Engine, I don't want to say all their lives, but like all of their careers, essentially. That's all they've ever done, is Unreal Engine, for the people that have been working on Gears since day one, at the very least. So, cool. That is good for them. All right, moving on to the last bit of news. Little Big Planet 3 and all of its DLC on the PlayStation 4. I imagine this already happened to PlayStation 3. But on the PlayStation 4 is being delisted. This game released a decade ago. And yeah, the servers had already been shut off. Hackers ruined the fun for us. My first ever trophy in a video game, in a PlayStation video game, my first ever trophy was in the Little Big Planet. I cannot get that platinum trophy because they shut the servers off because hackers were just too annoying. And so they said, no one gets any fun anymore. This game is so dead. Sorry. They did that with servers before, and I think Little Big Planet 1 had its DLC delisted years ago. And then, like, there was Little Big Planet PSP. If you remember that. It was just called Little Big Planet, which is annoying because it was its own game. But then there was Little Big Planet 2, and then Little Big Planet for PlayStation Vita, and then Little Big Planet Karting, which was a PS3 kart racer. Used the PlayStation Move in this steering wheel thing I still need to buy. I'm going to be playing a bunch of PlayStation Move games in the next few months, guys. We're going to be streaming a bunch of them. It's a secret. Those three games, 2, Vita, and Karting, all had this convoluted, like, DLC thing where, like, you'd buy a character costume and it'd be in all three of those games, and I was scrolling through on my PlayStation Vita games and downloading them for Platinums. I have a memory card full of Stinky Platinums that are Vita games. And I have another memory card that's full of non-Stinky games that I will get Platinums in or try, you know. And just looking through my downloads list, and it's like every single costume that was free that I redeemed, there's 3 listings for each of them. Ugh. I never played Little Big Planet 3. It didn't seem interesting to me at all. So it is sad to see it getting delisted. There are physical copies of that game, so, you know, maybe get one off of eBay real quick and download as much DLC as you can that's free. I know there was Metal Gear costumes based off Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain. I don't know if they're free. They are most likely not free. Man. But get anything that's free, update the game. I imagine they'll still allow you to download patches for the game after it's delisted. But update that game, get it fully patched, unless there's information about the way, like, the 1.0 version has a higher unlocked frame rate and blah, blah, I don't know. Disregarding any of that stuff where it's like, you want version this, not the latest. You can download it off this GitHub. Disregarding any of that potential stuff. What the hell is going on here? I don't want to go backwards. Okay, I guess we're basically starting level over with again. Just to die. Yeah, you get the game physical, download its latest patch, get it all sorted, and I guess, you know, say goodbye to it. That is what's unfortunate, is, I know this was a PlayStation 4 game that was also on PlayStation 3, but the series itself is that early PS3 idea of play, create, share, creating levels. It's that Web 2.0 approach. Folks remember PlayStation Home, the whole pitch around that, and what PlayStation wanted to go for at the time was you can make things that other people are going to see. This is so-and-so. She designed shirts for PlayStation Home. And people buy them. She gets some money. I don't know if that was their pitch or not, but like the money aspect, I don't know. But, oh, you can make... They wanted to make Second Life into just the PlayStation experience on PlayStation 3. And have that be a part of games. And Little Big Planet was a big thing about that. Oh, play, create, share. You can make levels, and the level editor was very robust in a way that wasn't fun. You could play levels, most people just made giant penises and shit, or they just made Family Guy and Super Mario Brothers. But there were neat and interesting stuff here or there. Nintendo even suffered with that with Mario Maker. Like, of all things, they made it fun to make those levels, but man, you need people that want to make free content for you that's really good for the sake of it to make your game really good. Don't want to hit restart. I want to hit no. So, that's that. Goodbye, Little Big Planet. The future of Little Big Planet probably is not Little Big Planet. It is probably more platformer starring the character of Sackboy. Sackboy: A Big Adventure was a launch title for PlayStation 5. It was also on the PlayStation 4. I do have it. It was one of the first PlayStation 5 games I got. I think I got it for Christmas that year. I played it for a little bit. It was fun. Then Bruno Mars showed up in a song, and I was like, oh, I hate your songs. But the Madonna cover was kind of funny. Oh, and when that game inevitably gets delisted because it has licensed covers and songs in them, you know. Oh well, I guess. That's just the fate of all that stuff, but yeah, Little Big Planet as a name feels so PlayStation 3. It belongs with Killzone and Infamous, and I know there were PlayStation 4 versions of those games as well, but those are so ancient PlayStation stuff. Their modern day stuff just doesn't allow room for this type of stuff, so don't expect a Little Big Planet 4 anytime soon. I remember the initial picture, like, oh, Easter eggs are going to be in Little Big Planet, and they're not just any kind of Easter egg, they're in the shape of Easter eggs. It was just a collectible. I read that in, I think it was Game Informer at the time. Rest in peace, fuck you, GameStop. Never buying anything from GameStop anymore. But they did. It's not just the fact that they closed Game Informer, but the disrespect about how they went about it and continue to do it. MinMax had a video out where they went through I think it was Mall of America, the big GameStop in there. Had a giant statue that was from the Game Informer office. I was just put in that GameStop. There were personal items in Game Informer's Vault collection that were just claimed by GameStop managers. I think some of them were put in the used games bin. Some of those were donated, so Game Informer would be like, yes, we have a collection. So fuck GameStop forever. But anyway, yeah, so it was in Game Informer that, I think it was in Game Informer, that I first read about Little Big Planet. I was like, oh, it sounds so cool, you know. And that was the first PlayStation 3 game I guess I played that had trophies at the very least. Because we got our PlayStation 3 in December of 2008. So the trophy system update had already happened at that point, and some games had gotten their patches. By the time I played Uncharted a couple months later, I was earning trophies for it. And the like, fortunately, a game I had played prior to Uncharted, called Sonic the Hedgehog, never got its trophy update, even though it has Xbox achievements, and thank God, because I would have to get that platinum because I'm a Sonic Mark. And as of right now, it's the name of this channel, so... Oof. Although I would do it, and I would probably have fun making fun of the game. Alright, we just need to beat, like, a couple more levels, and we're done. I don't even know if I need to get treasure chests, so maybe we don't go for them. I was not expecting an auto runner, I'm not gonna lie. And, like, I don't really play a lot of auto runners. I played the Bit Trip Runner games. Never finished Bit Trip Runner 3. And I know there was Rerunner that came out recently. And those are set to music. And man, it makes it a heck of a lot easier when you're like, oh, I know to just move to the beat, or, you know, do actions on the beat. Which then also means the level was designed with a kind of formula in mind that I know is, like, not bullshit. Like, I can't trust some of these jumps sometimes where it's like, yeah, you just jump at the last minute and I will land over the spikes and the pit. Like, I don't know if that's true. You know what I mean? Sometimes it feels like I have to double jump here to do it. But overall, I mean, we've played worse Stinky Platinums. Less fun ones, though. When we go to rank this one, I jumped on its head and I died. How does that work? How is that fair? How does that work and how is that fair? I guess I could be hitting continue. I should be doing that. Well, I'm not gonna now because I was right at the beginning. So yeah, I mean, that is all of the news that I have prepped for the whole thing here. I still find it interesting that the Pokemon Leak so far doesn't have any, like, monster designs shown. It sounds like that was intentional. For whatever reason. I guess that's fair. And I'm hoping what happens out of this isn't necessarily, spoiled plans for future Pokemon games, but more of like, oh, sweet. ROM hacks are going to be a lot more fun now, because guess what? Yesterday, Devin and I streamed our Nuzlocke run on the ROM hack of Fire Red that I made. I haven't looked into the 4th generation ROM hacking scene for Pokemon. I imagine it's going to be even better now that Soul Silver and Heart Gold, that their source code has been now obtained. I just assume that would make it easier and better, and, you know, cool, maybe I could do a Heart Gold ROM hack. That would be fun. There are people that still say that's the best Pokemon game. It's certainly the last Pokemon game that felt uncompromised to me. And it is the only Pokemon game of the DS or 3DS generations, why am I still on this level, that used the touchscreen in any way that wasn't completely stupid. That's what I'll say this. I know people like to complain about Game Freak and say, oh, they're not fit to work on Pokemon. Weird to say that. Oh, like, oh, they're so unoptimized, trash. And yeah, with Scarlet and Violet, yes. I get it. Those statements are now becoming more understandable that they're said. I don't find them acceptable because hardworking people work on it. It comes down to the way... We're not going left now. It comes down to the way management wants projects to be completed within certain milestones and have the whole thing reach certain deadlines, right? We were at a point now where there was a new Pokemon game every single year. We're talking mainline Pokemon, right? The core series. That's too much. They need to slow it down. The Game Freak has also had an issue with their 2nd generation on a single platform now, pushing the limits of that platform beyond maybe their capabilities. Pokemon Black and White, I do not like those games. They try to do too much forced 3D perspective shit with their sprites, and it's ugly. It's an ugly video game. Straight up, it's an ugly DS game. Pokemon Sun and Moon, I mean, they never learned how to do 3D correctly. They never could handle it. The 3DS has 2 GPU processing units in it to allow you to do 3DS rendering, or 3D rendering, or sorry, stereoscopic 3D rendering without any compromises, okay? Those games did not do 3D correctly ever. On the Switch, Scarlet and Violet is a giant mess. Sword and Shield seem to be fine. That was the last ones I had. I think this is the Platinum, guys. I think this is it. Hell yeah, get them all. Gotta catch them all. And so, like, I want them to just wait and move on to Switch 2. I have a feeling that the 10th generation of Pokemon is going to be cross-gen. I know the leak says it's Switch 2, and Pokemon Legends ZA is cross-gen. I just think that it's also going to be on the Switch regular. I don't know, because, like, when would it come out? When would it come out? Because, like, they like to wait until the Nintendo handheld or console now with Switch has a large install base so that those games sell really well, you know? Like, that's why they waited 2 years to have a 3DS Pokemon game. Because they wanted that adoption rate on their game to be high right off the bat. You can't sell a game to people that don't own the console. Right? But, you know, I'm a little worried. And I know some people like to clown on Game Freak and say, oh, they're not fit to make games. And I can understand why people come to that conclusion nowadays. But the thing that always bothered me, even setting aside the 3D stuff, is the fact that, like, come on, this is a turn-based RPG. How come you're not using the touchscreen in any way that's interesting? Like, yeah, in battles, it's essentially the 4-button menu you'd see prior, just big on the freaking thing. But outside battles, what are you using it for? Diamond and Pearl, stupid little widgets that you would have on, like, a smartwatch from around the time that came out, right? You could play Snake on it or whatever. Cool. Useless. Heart Gold and Soul Silver actually allowed you to put key items on there, like, oh, there's a button you can toggle that says you're always running now. Useful. There's actually useful stuff on there. It wasn't perfect, but it was the closest they got. Pokemon Black and White. It was the stupid online communication stuff. If you were like me, and you were the only one in your friend group playing Pokemon, it was a useless bottom screen. Black and White 2 did the same thing. Forgot to mention Platinum, it had more stupid widgets. We get to the 3DS era. Pokemon X and Y. I loved those games. They got me back into Pokemon after falling off for a bit after being let down by Black and White. Pokemon X and Y. Okay, what does it do? More online connectivity stuff, and the menus are really tiny, and there's, like, other things in there too, like, oh yeah, you can, like, I think put ribbons on Pokemon. I don't remember. Every Pokemon generation now has, like, what if you hang out with Pokemon as, like, an optional secondary thing, and they used to throw that shit on the second screen. Pokemon Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire had the touchscreen mini-games that would allow you to change the effort values, to reset your effort values on your Pokemon and make them what you want. And boy, I spent a lot of time doing that, man. I spent a lot of time doing that to make my original team from Ruby and Sapphire, which now live on my phone, which is crazy to think about, to give them perfect effort values for what I wanted. And now I know there's a way to do that with individual values, IVs, I think they call them that. Dude. Cool for me. Alright, but it also was just more of the X and Y stuff. Then we get to Sun and Moon, and it's a map. But it's not a useful map. It is like a Google Earth satellite view of Hawaii. It's not useful. What I would have wanted was, okay, here is the layout of the area you're in, like any other fucking video game that you play. And yeah, maybe you need to explore the areas in order for them to pop up on there, fine, but it was so useless. That's when you could tell they're like, we don't care about the system that we're on, we just want money. Highest grossing entertainment property in history. Switch doesn't have a second screen. They can just make video games again. And I know, like, there was some, like, oh, but, like, we prefer handhelds. Well, too bad. Nintendo doesn't make them anymore. I still think there is a future in which Nintendo does have a console on your TV and a handheld-only handheld again. I can see them doing that. There is money to be made in that. Just because the Switch was what they needed to do at the time does not mean they're going to do that forever. We will one day see a successor to the DS and 3DS. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Anyway, thank you guys for stopping by. This was fun. It was nice to do a Stinky Platinum stream where the stream doesn't freeze up on me. I'm glad I fixed that OBS issue a couple days ago. A few days ago, actually. At the beginning of this week, actually. So cool that we're able to get through one without any issues. I am excited for some of the stuff that we talked about today, sad about some of the stuff that we talked about today. And remember, I said this off the top of the show, new episode of the Sonic Movie Show airs tomorrow. Check it out. Fatal Fury, Legend of the Hungry Wolf review. All universally are conflicted about it. We don't universally praise it or hate it. We're all mixed on it. It's a fun episode because it's actually like there's a debate. It's fun to do that. And yes, there were 4 other streams we scheduled for the rest of the month, including a mystery PS2 game Devin's going to see for the first time. I'm going to play for him. Our first look early access stream of Sonic X Shadow Generations, and a pair of Halloween streams, Spooky Steam Games, and Candy Ranking. Check out the schedule. You can see they're all scheduled on the YouTube channel here. So take a look. There might, no promises, I might stream a trophy hunting game Monday. I do not think it is going to be the big project I'm working on. And I know I teased PlayStation Move games on PS3. It's not going to be any of those either. If I do one of those, if I do a trophy hunting stream on Monday, it is probably going to be a PlayStation 1 or PSP Classic. I have a list of games where I'm like, this would be fun to do a one-off of. And I'll do that. Maybe I'll platinum it afterwards. Maybe we'll bring it back if we have a lot of fun. I don't know. So that's that. That might happen Monday. So, yes, in any case, if you're watching this video-on-demand version of the stream here on YouTube after the fact, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. There is a bell. You can tastefully look at it if you want. It gives you notifications if you want to receive notifications. I recommend you receive notifications because it helps the channel. I do not find them useful myself for YouTube. That's not how I use YouTube. But if that's how you use YouTube, God bless you. Please turn on those notifications. And write in the comments below what you think about the Pokemon leak. I know more information about it will happen as the days goes on. Again, this leak happened 4 hours ago. So who knows what changes in the coming days. And I hope, God forbid, there is no personal information in there that muddies up the morality of discussing the leak at all. 'Cause that's the freaking cycle everyone goes into. So anyway, thank you for watching. We'll see you for another one of these streams next Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And as always, that was the end. I don't have an outro. Bye.